Reversing diabetes starts with eating more carbs. Know this sounds so controversial, but make sure you watch the whole video before you decide this is nonsense. Hi, my name is Charmaine and I'm the dietitian that helps people reverse type 2 diabetes with plant-based eating. When it comes to carbs, I know a lot of gurus or diabetes professionals tell you to stay away from it rather than embrace it. Now, I want you to understand that there is a big difference in the types of carbs that you're eating. There's no doubt that refined sugar, refined carbs is not good for you and will spike your blood sugar, is not good for diabetes at all. However, when it comes to the healthy type of carbohydrates, including fruits, vegetables, legumes, and whole grains, these are actually shown to be beneficial in helping you tackle type 2 diabetes and even reverse it. A healthy whole foods plant-based diet is full of whole grains, legumes, fruits, and vegetables, which are all pretty high in carbohydrates with the exception of non-starchy vegetables. However, each of these groups are actually shown to be beneficial in helping you control your blood sugar. Let's say beans, for example. They actually have resistant starch, which means that your body won't really absorb it throughout the digestion process and in turn can improve your gut health and help you balance your blood sugar while providing healthy lean protein. Let's say whole grains, for example. Whole grains are actually full of soluble fiber that can help you slow down your blood sugar absorption, also can help you lower your blood lipids. Lowering blood lipids and improving your body's lipid level can actually help you improve insulin sensitivity, which in turn helps you with lowering your blood sugar. And what researchers have found that even though these plant foods are higher in carbohydrates, instead of spiking blood sugar, it actually helps improve insulin sensitivity. Now, insulin sensitivity is super important to understand because when it comes to type 2 diabetes, it is a disease of carbohydrate intolerance, meaning that your body isn't able to process these carbohydrates. Now, what causes your body to be unable to process these carbohydrates? It's actually low insulin sensitivity. Low insulin sensitivity means that your cells are resistant to insulin, and insulin has a hard time bringing glucose from the blood into the cells. And what causes that? It's actually insulin resistance. Insulin resistance is actually caused by a buildup of fat in the cells, which includes your muscle cells and your liver cells. Now, when there's a buildup of fat, it actually turns off the insulin receptors. It causes a lower uptake of glucose from the blood into the cells. And that is why the glucose stays in the blood, and that's what causes high blood sugar. So insulin isn't good or bad. Insulin is just a tool. What's happening right here is that there's some chewing gum stuck in a lock. Let's say insulin is key and cell is a lock. Normally it'll work perfectly. However, because there's a buildup of fat in the cells, it almost acts like a gum. So the buildup of fat is the gum and it's stuck in the lock so that the key and lock won't work anymore, and that is what causes low insulin sensitivity, that is what causes carbohydrate intolerance, and that is what causes high blood sugar. Now, what a healthy whole foods plant-based diet does is that it cleans out the gum from the lock so that insulin can work perfectly again. So your body doesn't need to produce much more insulin just to cover a little bit of carbs. Now, improving insulin sensitivity is very important, which means that your body doesn't need as much insulin to cover certain amounts of carbohydrates. A study compared the conventional diabetes diet with a vegan diet. Now, the vegan diet is full of fruits, vegetables, whole grains, and legumes, which are all very high in carbohydrates. The difference is they are very high in fiber as well. And what happened was that the vegan group were able to lower their A1C 3 times better than the conventional diet. Moreover, they have better cholesterol and lipid panel compared to the conventional diabetes diet. Both plant-based doctors and the American Diabetes Association do agree that carbohydrates that come from whole plant foods are beneficial for type 2 diabetes. And even more exciting studies in Slovakia found that 84% of type 2 diabetes patients were able to reverse their type 2 diabetes through a plant-based diet. Actually, 32 out of the 38 patients were able to get off diabetic medications in the 20 weeks of plant-based eating protocol. Now, this is groundbreaking because because these foods are higher in carbohydrates, but they're a different type of carbohydrates. A lot of times studies don't specify what type of carbohydrates it's coming from. So a lot of times when it comes to increased sugar intake or increased refined carbohydrates intake, we slap a bad label on carbohydrates. But the reality is whole and processed forms of carbohydrates that are low in glycemic index are actually shown to be beneficial for people living with type 2 diabetes, being able to help them lower their HbA1c and get off diabetic medications. And the reason why the title of this video is to eat more carbohydrates is because a lot of times in type 2 diabetes protocol is to cut carbohydrates. But when you cut carbohydrates, you're also cutting a very healthy group of carbohydrates like fruits, legumes, whole grains, and even vegetables. And when you cut these foods out, you most likely will rely on higher fat, higher animal protein foods like red meats, butter, cheese. Even though these foods are lower in carbohydrates and might not spike insulin, it actually can increase your insulin resistance, making your cells even more resistant to insulin. So it becomes a vicious cycle. And the problem with that is even though cutting out carbs may lower your blood sugar temporarily, once you eat a piece of banana again, it's gonna skyrocket your blood sugar because you never dealt with the root cause of the problem, which is insulin resistance. A lot of experts know that type 2 diabetes is caused by insulin resistance, but they never really figure out what is causing the insulin resistance. And insulin resistance is caused, again, by the free fatty acids that's in your cell that turns off the insulin receptors, and that's what's really causing type 2 diabetes. The main point of the story is if you truly want to reverse the root cause of type 2 diabetes, you want to turn to eating more healthy types of carbohydrates like beans, legumes, fruits, and vegetables in order to truly reverse type 2 diabetes and improve insulin sensitivity and improve your body's ability to process carbohydrates. If you want to learn more on how I've helped hundreds of people reverse type 2 diabetes with plant-based eating, make sure you check out my free training. Link is in my description below. Or if you'd like to work with me and my team in our 12-week reversing diabetes system, make sure you book a call with us to see how we can help. Have a good day, everyone.